Alright, here's an update. We're going to do this for the microphone and the camera battery does. So we've got our main switch ready. We've got our cables from the meters. So we've got our in, our neutral and our out for off peak. We've got our in and our out and our out for our A and C phase, and we've got our neutral. Service fuses are in. We've just got to put our H plates in to cover everything up. We have our MEN connection and our service consumer's neutral. There is our off-peak main switch, our off-peak hot water unit. That'll be our lighting circuit going in. So here's how it looks at the back. So we've got to heat shrink our cables for identification to say that they're a phase cable, because obviously everything's in black. Our neutral can remain black, so it's already shielded. We've got our cables from the meter. We've got our MEN link, which is bonding here, which we'll solder once we get our main earth in. And then yeah, so we're making progress. Now we've just got to get all our breakers in, which is just going to be a time-lapse video for you to watch. There's going to be no audio to it, just some audio, just some music over top of it, like I like to do in our videos. So you get to see everything we're going to do here. Just going to be a nice little recording of us doing it, and then I'll speak to you at the end of the video. Thanks, guys.
Fumble a bag, now I will not fumble a bag. Fumble a bag, now I will not fumble a bag. Act like you know how this goes.
we've got now our off-peak, main switch and RCBO. I'm going to change that to a voltex breaker. I didn't order in enough, but that's okay. We have a 25 amp for our cooktop because we've got 4mm cables coming in. They used to have a two-phase system, so it was one neutral, two phases. So we've just paired up the cables. That's how it was originally. So put both the cables into the active, one cable into the neutral. So it's still rated to 25 amps, which the cable can take. 16 amps for the powers and one for the aircon circuit, which is the 15 amp outlet, so that's fine. And then the 10 amp RCBO for the lighting circuit. So we've got A phase and C phase. Now I'm going to do is being a little bit tricky and a little bit funny. I'm going to have these 4 breakers onto C phase and then these 2 breakers onto A phase because these are going to draw the most load, the AC and the cooktop. So I'm going to link those 2 there with the bus bar. I'm going to link those 4 with the bus bar and have these 4 come off the actual breaker with the bus bar, and then this one I'm just going to tail a 16mm cable to that 16 amp breaker in the back, and the bus bar will sit in the front. Alright, let's do that now. So we take our bus bar. If you ever want to know how to do a bus bar, so you take the bus bar out of the protective sleeve that goes over it, take the section you want, and all you have to do is just bend it, and bend it until it snaps off. Once it's snapped, it should snap reasonably flat, reasonably clean. Alright, so then what you want to do is you put it back into the protective sleeve. He says, put it back in there. You want to have some play on either side. Alright, so snip it off near it so the copper will stay inside. So there we go. So you have 2 links of a bus bar protected by that little plastic covering. And it goes up inside, so the plastic faces out to protect your fingers. So we'll just use a drill and we'll tighten up with a screwdriver. Pushes up and in. I'm going to tighten one because I want to use the terminal of the second one. So we'll leave that one for now, and we want to line up the bus bar with how many we need. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links. So we're going to push that bit of plastic coating. See what we actually might do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's perfect. So we know the plastic's long enough, almost, to get what we need. So what we'll do is we'll slide this one over a bit, because then we can slip that on top of that one, right? So we want the bus bar to make the length we need. So we want to go to that link there. We want to break off 2. Same again. Grab the 2 that you want to break off. I'm going to make the copper really close to the teeth because I don't really want any excess hanging out the sides. Bend it, bend it, and bend it, and bend it until it snaps off. We can discard that. That's a bit of scrap copper for us. I'm going to bend this bit of copper back up because it's hanging down a bit too low and the plastic will not go on if it's like that. Right, like so. Done. And we'll slide this bit of plastic onto this one the right way. Just enough that the copper stays on the inside. It's not visible and you can't physically touch it. Then I'm going to make sure it's on the right side so you can make this work. Alright, so that's how we want it that way, sticking out the right side. He's done that wrong again, hasn't he? Had it right the first time. A bit overzealous. Alright, we push that up into the breakers we want it to go into. Push them a bit closer, they probably need to be loosened off. Alright, so we're going like that. What we want to do is we want to take this one back out because I want to protect it. I want to use the same plastic. I'll slide that in there. What I need to do is I need to actually take off more of this bus bar because I don't want these 2 touching because they're not the same circuit. They're not going to be on the same phase, so we definitely don't want them touching in any way, shape or form. Yep. That'll go in there like that. That will go in there like that. So let's snip these up. That's in. Let's slide this on. You can actually push it on. he says, when he drops it. Oh, we're going to have to undo it, as much as I wanted to be smart and be tricky. Alright, that's where we want that. And we'll just snip a little bit more for this to cover the other one. Half, so it goes further than you need it to. Slip that in there. Pick that one up. All up. Alright, so that's all secured now. So what we just need is we use red because it's on A phase. Bit of the 16mm red we have on the ground here. So make sure you can still see me, so I just bump the tripod. Yeah, you're fine. Right. Strip off about 8mm of cable. Bend it around that way. Pop that into the main switch. Snip it up. Tighten with the drill after. Want to get it lined up with the breaker we want to put it to, which is this 16 amp breaker. Now you want to cut that to length about there. So that's done. Strip this about the same, about 8mm. Cut it back a bit so it isn't visible. See what I say about tightening everything up after. Just loosen this off more so the terminal comes out. Nip that up. Nip that back up because it moved. What I just want to do is just want to grab this with some pliers just to bend it up in the middle more. There we go. Because what people don't realise, these little ribs here on the bottom of the enclosures, they actually crimp the cables and they damage them. So if you've got cables sitting on top of them when the cover shuts, you've got some pretty decent trouble in doing that. So try to avoid it whenever you can. These will close up more when we get the right spacing. We don't want it doing what it's doing right now. We might have to cut this 16mm a bit shorter, we'll see. Now we might just cut this 16mm a little bit shorter. So instead of pushing away, it pushes it together. So we'll cut it down to where we've cut it there. We'll strip it again. That's why I just showed you right there. That wasn't all the way tight. That loosened itself off because it flattened itself out. Right? That's why we do it. Bend that in more because I can see it's going to push it out more. Hopefully now that will more drag it towards the main switch rather than away. Alright, looks a lot better. It's in there nicely. We'll get our big screwdriver just to nip these tighter. Every terminal. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Go around every single one. And we can get a bit of leverage on, tighten them all up, and also do the neutrals as well. And the last thing I'll have to do is just link up this main switch with the bottom of the RCBO just for the hot water unit. So that wasn't very tight, which is good that I checked. Check, make sure there's no copper exposed, it's gonna hurt someone. This one's just a blank one, so just nip that up. Nothing on either side, so no one will be affected by it. Let's go check our neutral. So our MEN connection and neutral done. Lighting circuit need to be nipped up. Power 1, power 2, power 3, power 4. Sorry, that's the power 4 was the AC. Power 1, power 2, power 3, AC, and then the cooktop. Cooktop, they all needed another quarter turn, so that's why we go back and check. Why you should check also, check the manufacturer's ones. So these obviously wasn't a manufacturer's ones, this is obviously ones that have been added, that have been sitting here for a long time, so luckily nothing was loose. And let's check the off-peak one I did earlier. Done. Okay, I'm happy with the connections. Let's throw a bit of 2.5 between there. I've got a perfect bit of 6mm here, which is going to do nicely, so we'll just use that. So even 6mm, I'll fold over. If I can't get it in a terminal, I won't fold it. But most of the time I will fold it over because I just feel it's better practice. It's a bigger purchase on a cable. I believe you don't have to do this, what I'm doing right now. You don't have to put this separate main switch in. It is just a personal preference in my opinion. I just feel that while we're putting, there used to be main switches before the, main switches, main isolators before the service fuses. The porcelain fuses used to go in for off-peak, so why did it change when we got better protector devices? I don't know. I just feel just a little bit extra, cost you a couple of dollars. And that way you can actually isolate this RCBO safely and replace it if anything ever did go wrong with it, and you can isolate that safely without any problems. Alright, we're ready for H plates to come in, which are up here. So these are the H plates. So what these are is they protect the service fuses from the connections, because as it stands right now I could touch that and become live with any of these connections here. So these go in. The old school service fuses, what they used to do is they didn't have these H plates, so it would be that they would seal them out so you couldn't pull them. So obviously a lot of domestic electricians were working on switchboards. They wanted to be able to isolate the main switch and they couldn't because the service fuse didn't have any protection on it. So they put these little H plates on now so you can actually pull them off safely and they don't have to be tagged. They get tagged by the level 2 on these H plates now. That's one. That's two. Both our meters are on. It's good to see. I just want to double check to make sure that isn't touching, but the fact it's pulling that breaker across would be pretty safe to say. See, what we'll do is we'll get a continuity tester and we'll just see between those points if those two links there are touching. That way I know if that bus bar is not going to work or not. And if it doesn't, that's fine. That tail between there and there, I'll just add another one. It's probably the safer way to do it anyway, but we'll just do pretty much exactly what we've done. There's a link between those two breakers out of that one there. It should just be the same size as that 25 because that 16mm cable can take more than enough of the load between those two circuits. Alright, so I'll go get some testing equipment and we'll start testing some voltage and then we'll turn everything on. See you in a minute. So I'm sure this video is long enough as it is, so I'm not going to add testing and how we do it in this video. I'll do all my necessary testing I need to do. Only thing I want to check while I'm on camera is obviously because I've done this non-linked bus bar here, so obviously that's a separate bus bar going in there. Probably should have spaced these out, and I may still do. I may space these out separately into that pole there, so this bus bar completely stays away from this set of bus bars, and that way it works that way, because the way that the electrician did it before, as I said, breaking the bus bars off and taping them over is not really the safest way of doing it. So doing it this way I think is pretty safe. I think it works fine, but as I said, if it doesn't seem to work out because they're linked, then I won't use them. So I'm just going to do a quick continuity test, see if this breaker here and this breaker is linked, which they're not. These ones here should be linked. So we have continuity there. Are these two linked? They are. So that's perfectly fine. Continuity. No continuity. We got continuity, continuity. Cool. Alright, so I'm happy with that. I'm just going to test some voltage at these meters. All the way down here. So between phase to phase, I've got 420, which is good. Phase to neutral, 245. Phase to neutral, 245. Let's check this off-peak meter. Has 240, and we have nothing leaving because we're not in the off-peak period, which is beautiful. Awesome. Alright, I'm happy. I'm going to energize. Our main switch, hot water, and everything on. And we'll have nothing there, but we're just going to check here because we'll have no power. We're just going to check continuity quickly between the off-peak meter We go clear, out of, go into the hot water unit. Beautiful. All right, time for covers and labelling. Take out that blank there. Clips will break it, doesn't want to play the game. But it will, because we'll make it. Close the lid. There we go. I noticed obviously we had one spare before and we still got one spare, which doesn't make any sense when we took out the strip heater, but that's because we added the separate main switch for the hot water unit. Alright, so now it's just some labelling to do. We've got to label where the MEN is. We've got a label which is already written there. We're going to do it properly with labels. We're going to label all this up properly, and I might save the actual labeling for a separate video, but we'll show you the finished product. But I'll show you the finished product, how it looks, but I'm going to show you how I do my labeling in a separate video and how we label up the switchboard and everything like that, so at least it spreads my content out a bit better for you guys. Hey? Wait, oh good. Well, as I said, I'll show you the end result when it's all done, but other than that, that's pretty much how you do a whole switchboard upgrade. Thanks.